Phillies take game one in the wild card. The Marlins, they lose 4-1 to the Philadelphia Phillies, and Zach Wheeler was dealing, baby. The Marlins had some chances, but in the end, they go down in this one. It is now sudden death for the Marlins. They must win the next 2 games on the road in Philadelphia, starting this evening with Braxton Garrett. This is Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England and welcome to Locked On Marlins. This is your daily Marlins podcast. I am your host, Peter Pratt. Hit me up, of course, at Miami Marlins _ UK. If you're listening to the pod, of course, hit subscribe. This is your team every day. And thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. This one is coming at you pre-game before game 2. There is a YouTube channel, of course, guys. It is also called Locked On Marlins. Head on over there, hit subscribe, and join me. If you are watching, you will see you have the graphics to help. You have the rundown. You will also see it's a solo pod. So just me today breaking this one down. And this should be a fun one in some ways. The episode should be fun. A lot to get into. A lot to take away from yesterday's game, I must say. Before we do that, this episode is sponsored by our good friends over at FanDuel. Yes, sir. And let's start that again. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. You can visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. All right, guys. So it is Wednesday, the 4th of October. The Marlins have dropped game 1 in this wildcard series. It was a highly anticipated game 1. It was a non-UK friendly game 1. I have to call it out. But for those on Twitter that were observant, you would have seen I was tweeting during the game. So what did I do? Got into bed about 9 p.m. Set the alarm for 1 a.m. Alarm goes off 1 a.m. I was downstairs for like 1:05. Game on. No beers. No beers or wine. Went straight for the caramel latte. Homemade caramel latte at home. I was on the school run with the kids. So unfortunately, no beers, no wines at that kind of time because I was driving at about 7:45 a.m. Anyway, enough of my home schedules, but I do want to give you an insight as to how tricky this can be these times. But we do it because we love it, guys. First proper postseason run for 20 years. I wasn't a baseball fan then. And so I'm embracing it. I'm loving it. It was highly anticipated. And I must say, the first thing I would say about yesterday's game, Citizens Bank Park, as advertised. Boy, oh boy, that atmosphere, wild. It looked insane. Someone else on Twitter was talking about if the Marlins make it back in the NLDS and they'll at least have one home game. And I think it was maybe LMF was saying about don't give us a piece of paper or some card or something to hold up. No, we need something fabric. We need a rally towel. We saw these red rally towels in full action in Philadelphia yesterday. Atmosphere was insane. It was the biggest attendance of any of the 4 games. The Rays, unfortunately, pulled less than 20,000. Granted, it's not the optimal start time for the Rays on a Tuesday, so I get it. But equally, man, oh man, that's a poor look. It's a poor look. And, listen, we've spent plenty of time on this podcast talking about attendances, but man, a wildcard series, a home wildcard series, I get it. The start time isn't amazing, but to get less than 20,000 is insane. Anyway, 45,000 plus at the bank for the Marlins and Phillies. It was the premier matchup, and it certainly, I think, delivered in terms of intensity, in terms of the competitiveness in there, and I would say the quality of ball, it was relatively clean. I would say, a lot of score lines yesterday looked similar, kind of low scoring affairs. This one obviously 4-1 to the Phils. A lot of similar score lines around, right? You've got a lot of aces going, and some teams didn't have their aces going actually, but for the Phillies and for the Marlins at this point, they both went with their number ones. the number ones that were healthy for the Marlins. Obviously, Sandy would have historically been pitching, but it wasn't to be. Jesus Luzardo getting the ball for the Marlins, Zach Wheeler getting the ball for the Phillies. So where was this game won or lost? And where was it won? It was fundamentally won for the Phillies, Zach Wheeler. When all's said and done, and there's a few things you can kind of pick out of this game. Oh, this didn't go right. This wasn't great. Blah, blah, blah. Whatever it might be. When we strip it all away, this was Zach Wheeler being absolutely dominant. I tweeted about it last night, like as it was happening live and real time. We've been lucky enough as Marlins fans for many years now to be watching Sandy Alcantara. We got to watch Sandy Alcantara in 2022 Cy Young form. He was pretty much untouchable for most of the season, other than like an odd West Coast start in Dodger Stadium or Coors. Other than that, it was almost flawless from Sandy. And I must say, that start from Zach Wheeler yesterday was up there with one of the best starts I've ever seen by any pitcher. Granted, I think he did tire a touch toward the back end. I think the Phils, they squeezed everything out of it. It did help. They were like leading by 3 runs at that point. It felt like it was like a regular season length. They kind of let him roll, into that 7th inning, and he started to labor maybe. But listen, for those first 6, Zach Wheeler he was incredible. He was absolutely incredible. And, as much as you want to kind of lambast the Marlins, the offense hasn't shown up, it hasn't done anything. Listen, I watched that game and I watched every pitch and I felt every pitch. I wanted them to do so well. Clearly, Zach Wheeler gave him no chance. He was flawless through 6. One of the best starts I've ever seen in one of the biggest spots that there can be. Game 1 in the wild card. At home, 45,000 going bananas. Zach Wheeler just fully delivered. So, the Marlins were up against it, no doubt. On the other side of the ball, in Jesus Luzardo, for him, it was a different type of day where he didn't quite have, it wasn't like, Wheeler was just like, it was almost the perfect outing. Luzardo was, let's call it 70%. It just wasn't quite there. And it's easy to understand why. Like, it's a big moment against a tough lineup and a raucous crowd. But it was some of those sliders in particular to the lefty guys, like there's sliders low and away. And then there were Jesus Luzardo sliders yesterday that were like way off the plate, spiked. Nicky Fortes, he was like Goldberg in the Mighty Ducks. He was incredible, actually, yesterday, Nick Fortes behind the dish, no doubt. But Luzardo, it just wasn't quite there. But overall, he got himself into a huge jam in the first inning. I think, runners on second and third? And no outs? To get out of that? Unbelievable. Huge plums getting out of that in that spot. And it felt like every inning, it was just so tough for him. So tough. Pitch count was rising all the way through. In the end, the Phils break through. However, what I must say is the Bohm, one of the big hit early on was Alec Bohm. And that double, I think, from Bohm there was, he was way out in front of that. He was fooled. He got it down the line, but it was right off the end of the bat. It was one of them ones where it was lucky. And any other given day, anything else could have happened. Don't get me wrong. The Phils' approach was impressive yesterday. Their at-bats, I thought, were impressive. The Marlins hitters, I felt the approach was slightly off. I want to talk about some of the hitters after, but Sean Barrett texted me during the game. He was watching live too, and Sean said, BABIP gods. And that's exactly what I was thinking. It felt like the Phils, things kind of went their way. The bounce of the ball kind of went their way. When I think back to the first inning for the Marlins offensively, they struggled to get anything going for a while, right? But when I think back, Arias, he lines one into left field. Opposite field, blasts one into left field, caught. Think Soler struck out. Then Josh Bell, he lines one, a hard-hit grounder that was fielded by Stott and out. And you come away from that inning going, different day, there's a couple of hits there, and then you're into, Berger and Jazz Chisholm with, a couple of guys on base. Who knows how that goes? And the other side of it, I felt like the Phils, they definitely had a bit of the rub of the green. The Marlins, they needed all the help they could get against Zach Wheeler. And the Phillies defense kind of stood up, performed, and got some, and the offense got some timely knocks. Want to carry on this conversation and look at how the Marlins managed it beyond Luzardo and what that means for the rest of this series. Want to talk about Jazz Chisholm Jr. as well. He was a talking point for many. There was probably 4 or 5 different reasons why Jazz Chisholm was a talking point yesterday, which is really interesting. We also look ahead to game 2. Braxton Garrett is going. We need to remember where Braxton has come from this year and where we're up to. But fundamentally, this is sudden death for the Marlins now. They need to win the next 2. If they don't, they are bounced out of the wild cards and out of this postseason in 23. And the Phillies will go on to face the Bravos. We will see. Before we do that, though, guys, let's get our first ad of the day, and it's our good friends over at FanDuel. So we'll get some sexy graphics going. There's and guys, you can snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you're thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use, and it has a wide range of betting options, including spreads, of course, player props, over-unders, and more. They've got it all there. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. All right, guys, you are here with me, Peter Pratt, on Wednesday, the 4th of October. The Marlins lose in game 1 against the Phils. 4-1. Zach Wheeler, absolutely immense for the Phillies. Absolutely immense. The Phillies offense just about did enough. The Phillies defense stood up. The Phillies bullpen. We'll talk about that. I want to start with the Marlins bullpen because this was interesting. The Marlins were down 3-0 and, 3 runs down for the Marlins is kind of their comfort zone. Like, this offense seems to come alive in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. And so really, from a Marlins perspective and a Skip Schumacher's perspective here, he's looking at this going, Zach Wheeler looks really on. Can we get to Zach Wheeler? Maybe not. What he doesn't want to do is to burn through all the leverage arms when they're down 3-0. And it's a bit unclear how this game's going to play out. He had a decision to make, Skip Schumacher, in terms of how he managed and went about, getting through the innings. And a lot of eyebrows, I think, were raised on Marlins Twitter around this topic because, you go to Puck in the 5th inning. Puck's, I would say, been pretty nice in the past month or so, for sure. In September, for sure. He feels like he's kind of got it back. You then go to Soriano. I'm thinking, man, George Soriano, he's pitching here in the 6th inning in a wildcard game, down by 3 runs. It wasn't who I expected to see out there. And I think a few Marlins fans were feeling the same. You then go to Brazoban, and then you go to Okert. I think the Okert one definitely had a few people worrying, like, Okert has not been good for some time. But by this point, a decision had been made about where to go. And clearly, like, if the Marlins offense would have come alive in that 7th inning and got all the way back, and they had an opportunity to do that, then you would have seen a different guy out there clearly for the 8th inning. But I think Skip Schumacher realized and, was pretty clear that this one was going to be an uphill battle. In game 3, if we get that far, it's effectively going to be a glorified bullpen day. You're going to need all of your magic bullets for that game. They're also looking at game 2 and thinking, well, there is definitely going to be a game 2, and we'll definitely need to win it. And we like our chances better against Aaron Nola than we do against Zach Wheeler. Who knows? I mean, Aaron Nola could absolutely show up and pitch out of his mind today. Or on the flip side, Braxton Garrett and whoever it might be gets absolutely blown up by this offense, the Phillies offense, which could absolutely happen also. And so the reality is, with the amount of bullpen requirements and innings, particularly with a bullpen game that's planned into game 3, Skip had it's a real fine line. It's a real tough line. And I think he managed it perfectly. The Marlins kept in touch, even though they went to just Puck, Soriano, Brazaban. They kept in the game. They kept runs off the board at that point. Still within 3. Then they closed the gap to go just 2 down. They also then have pretty much the biggest moment offensively for them. Runners on the corners. You then go pinch hitting, Yuli Gurriel, 2 outs. Gurriel we talked about on the pod on Monday with Sean. I brought him up. Gurriel. He's a guy that's got a lot of postseason experience. He's been there. He's done it. And also his record in the postseason, is pretty good. Not quite Hoy Soler levels. And Soler didn't have a great day yesterday. But you go to Gurriel, you had to. They brought Alvarado in. Big lefty. Jesus Sanchez was up. Jesus Sanchez, absolutely not the right guy to face Alvarado. Skip Schumacher made the right call. Could he have gone, who does he want to go to at that point? I think Gurriel was the right call, frankly. You could think about Garrett Hampson, maybe, but Gurriel was the right call. You could think about Xavier Edwards. Gurriel was the right call. Alvarado pitched him well. Pitched well. Struck him out. Averted that problem, that danger there. And that felt like the ball game in that moment. Then Okert comes in and they give up an extra run. Again, Marlins Twitter kind of losing its mind at that point. But I know you're down by 2. But you need to trust your guys to step up in these spots. He'd already trusted, what I would describe as, not the core leverage arms. And so you need to kind of play it through at that point. If they'd have tied the game, things would have been different. But I think Skip managed that game really well. I think the bullpen itself turned up and showed up really well. Jesus Luzardo, he battled really well. He got through 4. There could have been a situation where Jesus Luzardo didn't even get through 1. It was possible. The Phillies, some decent situational hitting, some really nice at-bats just generally. But like I said, the Alec Boehm line drive down as it hooked down the left field line, stays fair, relatively close, but not close. Stays fair. He was out in front of that. It was off the end of the bat. Different day, different outcome. Phils got a little bit of the rub. Marlins didn't. Can't take anything away from the Phils. My assessment overall as I went to bed last night at 4 a.m. was Phillies deserve that one. No doubt. Wheeler was too good. Too good. He was absolutely on. And I don't think it would have mattered who was going for the Marlins. I don't think they were winning that game. Just Wheeler was just too good. The only way out of it was just one big swing from Gurriel somehow to tie it. Then you just don't know. Let's do the final ads. And then I want to talk about Jazz Chisholm Jr. I also want to talk about Braxton Garrett. And equally, let's just have a little look ahead here to this game too, in what could be the final game of the 2023 season. We hope not, but it is possible. This episode is also brought to you by our good friends over at Bird Dogs. They also have graphics too, so we'll get those pumped. Have I got the right ones? No. Have I got the right ones? Now I have. I need a producer. Anyway, everyone's listening to the pod going, what the hell's Pete doing? Bird Dogs. Let's start there. We're going to end there too, but they make you look good, guys. That's all you have to know. That's the end of the ads. No, it isn't really. Bird Dogs, they got the stretch khaki shorts that are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you that truly sculpted look. The fit is immense. They fit way better than those regular shorts that have that stiff, restricting cotton. You know the ones. And you know that feel, that stiff cotton feel. No good. Bird Dogs, they fixed that issue by inventing a cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki, but stretches so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. And they are functional, guys. Truly functional. You got any occasion, these Bird Dogs can work for you. Golf, dates, evenings out, drinks with the boys, working out, lounging around, work. Get that polo shirt with the baby. However you want to do it, Bird Dogs, they'll absolutely show up for you, no doubt. So, what have you got to do? You got to get yourself over to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB or enter the promo code LockedOnMLB at checkout for a free Bird Dogs water bottle with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB for that free water bottle at checkout. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you that. Okay, guys, final segment here with myself, Peter Pratt. On Wednesday, the 4th of October, we are looking ahead to Game 2, where Braxton Garrett will be facing off against Aaron Nola in what will be another packed house in Philadelphia and a hostile environment for the boys. I want to talk about Jazz Chisholm Jr. briefly, because yesterday it was a bit of a weird day for Jazz, I would say. And, there was various flashpoints where, Marlins Twitter blowing up. What's happening here? The first incident happened on his first at-bat, where it was the second inning, top of the second, and Jazz was leading off the inning, grounder, the shortstop, if I recall correctly, and basically didn't leg it out. No gas. A lot of people saying, Jazz, I want to see you giving it just full speed. Why would you not? It's a ground ball, okay. Why are you not giving it full speed? I have no answer for you, by the way. I have no answer. I don't believe that Jazz is nursing anything. It's different for Luis Arias, right? Like, Arias can pretty much, if it looks like it's going to be out, then just pump the brakes. Like, he's obviously really dealing and struggling with his ankle, and it's pretty clear, and we can see that. But with Jazz, no known issues, and it's a bit of a bad look, to be honest with you. And I think rightly so, Marlins Twitter called it out. I half-jokingly replied to the Locked On Marlins GOAT, Aram Layton, who was tweeting about this and just saying, what the hell's going on here with Jazz? What I did call out was that he had to sprint from center field into the dugout, get ready to go and lead off. Maybe that could be a reason. Aram then rightly called that out and said, Pete, if that's the situation, the man needs a physical. So I think that Aram wasn't buying that one. I'm not sure I was buying that one, even though I was loosely selling it. But I do recall something about that from Skip Schumacher earlier in the year, talking about Hoy Soler playing in the outfield, but then leading off, and how he was trying to avoid that situation, having to run all the way from right field back to the dugout, get ready, and then go out and lead off. So that's, I think, what was in my head. I don't know the answer. Maybe it's just one of them where Jazz was like, I'm out and I'm not going to gas it. I don't think that's ever the right approach, personally, particularly in the second inning of Game 1 of a wild card. So there's that. Let's then flip it. Jazz then in center field, the Phillies score. They have guys, again, it's the same situation. They have a runner on second and third. Ball hit to center field. Think it was Bryson Stott, this one. Straight to Jazz in center field. Jazz comes in, fields the ball. First runner scores. Jazz, with some sort of quick release pirouette, gets the ball into Fortes, and he tags out Castellanos. Outfield assist there for Jazz. I need to check that was actually, I'm assuming that was recorded as an outfield assist. It was. And just showed Jazz Chisholm Jr. impact in the game. So, again, another positive there from Jazz. Little highlight moment for him. Great. So we've then had not running it out. Highlight moment in the outfield with an outfield assist, saving a run. Huge. You then get an extremely curious at-bat where he comes in with a runner on base and 2 outs. Wheeler's obviously dealing at this point. And we've seen a little bit of this from Jazz bunt-wise against some lefties. Seen that a couple of times. Seen Jazz kind of looking to use and, get it in people's minds that he could bunt. But he went to bunt on the first 2 pitches. Both of them ended up being strikes. So Jazz ends up in an 0-2 count, having squared the bunt both times. I know he wasn't happy with the first call in particular. The second one was definitely a strike. I think the first one probably was wide, actually. But it was really curious, the fact that, I think it was Josh Bell on first base. Like, I don't really know what the thought process was there. Was there one? Why is Jazz squaring a bunt with 2 outs against Zach Wheeler at this point? I've no idea. So I can't tell you why he didn't leg it out to first base in that second inning. And I can't tell you why he squared the bunt 2 times and then struck out, I think, the next pitch on one that I think bounced at home plate. Like, it was a nasty pitch. I mean, like I said, Wheeler was absolutely on. So I've no idea on that one either. It was a very curious day from Jazz Chisholm. And some people will say, did the situation, was it a bit too big for him? Was he impacted by it? Was he trying to do too much? Did he just lose his head in the moment? I don't know the answers, guys, to that. I saw Jazz pregame. He seemed ultra loose. We're here to have fun. We're here to play good ball. We're here to win. Maybe Jazz was just having fun. He did impact the game in a positive way, as already mentioned. But overall, 0 for 4 day, 2 Ks, some just general poor at bats from Jazz. And listen, as you know, I'm up there in one of the biggest fans of Jazz. Absolutely love him. Dude's electric. But even I'm scratching my head a couple of times yesterday wondering what was going through his head. Squaring the bunt. Didn't leg it out. Great fielding. Today's a new day. Today's a new day for Jazz. I'm intrigued to see what kind of performance we get from Jazz Chisholm Jr. We need one. We need a performance big time. Josh Bell was the only offensive guy that really, showed out yesterday. Josh Bell looked mean. I mean, he had a 3 for 4 day, and the one that he didn't get a hit on was almost a hit, actually. Could have been a 4 for 4. Like, Bell almost took one deep as well. There was almost a cycle there for Josh Bell yesterday somehow, but didn't happen. Guys, Braxton Garrett going this evening. Let's just remember where Braxton Garrett has come this year and, what the pathway has been. I was thinking about it. You've got Braxton Garrett deservedly getting the ball in game 2 based on his performance in 23 and 22. I look back on thinking about the offseason. People were talking about 6-man rotations and this and that. And, Brax down to AAA and what I was thinking, man, Brax has earned a spot from 22. Like, Brax is one of the best starters we've got. It should be Trevor Rogers trying to earn his place back. It should be Johnny Cueto trying to earn a spot. I know he's a veteran, and they've paid a lot of money for him. Anyway, Brax ends up making the roster. And I look back to some of my episodes around, these decisions. I had Brax going down to AAA because I was thinking, you need him to have the length available should they need it. And they needed it after week 1 because Johnny Cueto went down immediately. But Braxton Garrett started the year as the long man in the bullpen. Braxton Garrett is now starting game 2. We saw the Phillies offense against Jesus Luzardo yesterday, against the lefty. It does favor in some ways against real dangerous guys like Schwarber and Harper. But there are a ton of guys in that lineup that are dangerous against lefties themselves. This is going to be a huge test for Braxton Garrett. And frankly, he's going to be on the quick hook. He has to be on the quick hook here. We hope he deals. But Braxy is going to be seriously tested this evening. The question is can the Marlins offense seriously test Aaron Nola? Nola's had an up and down year. More down than up, frankly. And I think Skip looked at that yesterday's game and thought, let's save the bullets for Nola and for Ranger Suarez. And with that being said, they just need to deliver. The offense needs to deliver. Braxton Garrett needs to deliver. He's shown that he can. But this is going to be a huge spot. Listen to him with Jeremy Taché on the Miami Mic'd Up podcast a few weeks back. Spoke great. One of the best ones Jeremy Taché's done, actually. Brax was awesome in that. And Brax was talking about how he's getting he's not panicking now. He's getting more familiar with situations and being able to handle that. He knows what to do. He has his game plan. He knows what to do. The question is can he execute his game plan in the biggest of spots for the Marlins in 23. Guys, it's sudden death time for the Marlins. They have to win the next two. Game 2, 1:08 a.m. UK time. I'm going to be up. I'm looking forward to seeing all you guys on Twitter. I appreciate you making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day, guys. Hope you've enjoyed this one pre-game. And I look forward to seeing you on Twitter. I'll see you tomorrow.